Pairs and ice dancing, seen as such an underrated discipline within figure skating. We always talk about the singles, the women's and the males events. We never really talk about pairs and ice dancing. It's always undercovered and not as seen as dramatic as media attention covering. There's no much drama going on and not much emphasis, whereas it's such a hard disciplined coordination, two people skating, conflict arising, and today we're going to be breaking this down, specifically in Russia, because there's a whole kind of series in Orca that you can check out that they do is breaking down the whole Russian system and how each episode is really dedicated to a specific discipline. Today we're going to be breaking down pairs and ice dancing, which has some really interesting stories, because at the Olympics we see that from Russia only 2 spots were available, one for the men's event and one for the ladies event. Pyotr Gubernik was able to represent for the neutral status and Adele Petrosyan. For the qualifying for the neutral status, Russia was given the opportunity to have 2 skaters representing. So Ivan and Alexandra were the ones that were really contenders for the ice dancing because they're the best in Russia so far and they have the most consistency. So they did apply for the neutral status. Unfortunately, they got rejected and they weren't able to represent or go to the Olympics for an unknown reason, and the same with pairs. Nastya and Alexander wanted to apply and they got rejected for an unknown reason. In the rules, it states that the ISU and the Olympic Committee don't have to provide a reasoning why their application was rejected and why they didn't apply. They were just rejected, and that's it, which is so unfair and downgrading for an athlete who tried, whose Olympic dream is to be in the Olympics and to really skate and train all the time. It seemed unfair. They wanted and demanded for an explanation why the application was rejected, but nothing was said and it was just silenced. From the Russian side, the main reason is that the IOC, they don't really have a representative from Russia. They have every other country except from Russia. And maybe because they don't have enough reasoning during that panel where they really do hold discussions whether Russians should be back, whether they should have representative. So because there's kind of a lack of support and a lack of defense, every application seems to go really against Russia. It seems really unfair because with all these bans and all these sanctions, it seems to kind of go down and down because no one really upholds the whole status. A famous choreographer, Julien, said that they want Russia to be banned because right now they're giving opportunities for other countries to really take up the podium placement, have the opportunity, have the chance in a lifetime to be able to really get podium placements. And for their countries to be seen, it becomes more of an equal field because Russia does dominate. And without the Russians, it gives the opportunities and they feel happy for it. However, there is a downside with all this neutral status in the Olympics because even though, say, the pairs and the ice dancers do end up competing and going to that Olympics, only one pair and one ice pair. But because they have this lack of international experience, they end up being the first numbers to go. We saw that with Pyotr, we saw that with Adelia. When you're the first number to go to the Olympics, the judges don't really know you, don't know how to score you. You end up in the first warm-up, which is a bit like not the strongest skaters. And so, of course, your component elements, your technical difficulty will be lowered and your scores will be overall not as high as maybe the last warm-up. That's why loads of people want to go to the last warm-up, to have their scores being somewhat inflated and somewhat better scored. So it gives them little opportunity to even place in the podium placement and have fair advantages. It's unfair, but that's how the rules go. We saw that with Pyotr, we saw that with Adelia. their scores for the short program were significantly lowered, specifically with Piotr Gubernik, who should have been at the podium placement because he performed flawless routines and it was just so very low and he was robbed. But the same would have happened with pairs and with the ice dancing if they went. Ice dancing in Russia is seen as the discipline that if you fail in singles, you go into pairs. If you fail in pairs, you go into ice dancing. And that's because ice dancing doesn't require any technical difficulty. In Russia, we heavily emphasize in technical difficulty, specifically in jumps. If you have a strong jump, you end up in singles. If you fail with the jump content, you move on to pairs where you do complex elements, you do throws, you do jumps, you do spins. All the matter, it's so much high risk. And if you're unable to do that, you move into ice dancing, which removes all that technical difficulty and you just do compositions and element performances. 20 years ago, it might have seemed like, yes, that is much watered down, and people made fun of ice dancing for the most part because it's not classified as a real sport as a result of the whole technical difficulty being gone. But now it's much more complex. The footwork has gotten much more complicated and the whole artistry compositions have been even more difficult than before. And so it's very different to the whole pairs and singles, because pairs and singles have similar elements with the jumps, with maybe the choreography and the composition, but ice dancing is completely different. A lot of pairs and a lot of ice dancing, specifically males and men, really struggled because they thought that who would want to skate with a lady? It was seen as a downgrade, that they had to wear sparkly costumes, that they had to really skate. It was seen more as figure skating a feminine sport rather than a very masculine sport, especially in the Soviet Union and Russia as a whole. The whole male supremacy and the whole masculinity is very much more uprisen rather than the West, and they usually were very shy to say that they were actually a figure skater, specifically in pairs and in ice dancing. It was seen as somewhat that they felt that they were judged, which wasn't even the case, but it just felt like they were complexing about it and they feared it, which also caused a lot of problems. But afterwards, it kind of now seems as a whole good thing in sport, and they're able to really showcase what they can do. With pair skating, it's very hard. It's a hard discipline. There's a lot of coordination, there's a lot of jumps, there's high lifts, there's spins, there's technical high and complexity that is much more difficult and riskier than even singles, because there's two people that need to coordinate together and you need to really have a lot of trust in your partner. It's seen that in pairs specifically, you need to have a good academy where there's high competition, because competition between pairs, between competing for the coach's attention, really sparks you to be better, to become better at the field and to win high podium placements. Every athlete wanted to compete for attention, and to have this competition, you need to be in a field where there's not just one pair that's the best, there's 2 or 3 pairs that are competing equally to be able to be in that top spot, because then that competition fuels you to be better and to progress and to train harder. Of course, there's going to be always conflict, especially in pairs where 2 people are always skating together, and there somewhat is going to be bounces and boundaries being broken, and you just need to figure that out. Not forgetting about how much injuries there are. Pair skating specifically have spins, high rotations, you are in the air, your partner is holding you, the trust is there. There's so much pain and forms and so much riskier elements that you can literally just collapse and throw yourself and injure yourself to the point where you cannot even skate any longer. A serious case study is with Iliana. Now, she was back in the Soviet Union skating, and she had a very abusive partner. He personally always downgraded her. He kind of wanted to have her injured, have her somewhat happen to her. And she always was the kind of person that deflected all of that. She wanted to be with him and to kind of have this all through her and to give him the chances to be together, because she really wanted this to work out, the partnership. So many people, some of the male skaters that were in the partners, wanted to confront the guy, wanted to say, you shouldn't be treating Iliana like that. You shouldn't be saying that. They wanted to stop that, but Iliana kept stopping it. Now, a serious incident happened where the blade that they were skating came across her head, and it came where she had a whole concussion and a memory loss. She had to go to hospital because she had to get scans from her brain because the blade just scraped her whole forehead and there was a massive injury. Anton, which is now the federation leader, he was protecting Iliana. He was very protective of her. He saw the abuse that she had to suffer day 3. He wanted to confront. He wanted her to feel like she was being valued as a skater. And he couldn't stand the amount of injuries, the amount of stuff that she was suffering. And when this whole head injury really happened, she couldn't remember anything. The doctors recommended a place where she really knows everything. She stayed for a very long time to be able to get those memories back. And of course it was the ice rink. So she stayed at the ice rink. She saw people skating the pairs and she really loved it. And step by step, she wanted to try skating. Now it was dangerous. The coaches were very skeptical. They didn't want to go behind bars because she has this head injury. She doesn't remember. She really wants to try. So they let her skate for a little bit. And Anton really supported her. And slowly, day by day, they even tried pairs elements with Anton. They had a really good chemistry, a very good bond between them. They would try an elements and soon they were skating full on, doing pair elements, throws, spins. And at the Olympics, they won gold. They were a lovely partnership. They really complemented each other and they were good at skating. Another pair that was really good was Roman Kostomarov and Tatiana Navka, who won the Olympics. Their pair started out very different. The story was that Roman Kostomarov, he was a very young boy, he was very prospective, he was very talented, but Tatiana Navka was much older and she was seeking a partner. She skated with a male skater. He was a lot shorter than her and they didn't really complement each other that well. Roman Kostomarov and Tatiana Navka skated at the same school. It ended up happening and they wanted, and the coaches recommended for them to skate beautifully. They had the chemistry, they had the bond. At first, Roman Kostomarov didn't want to skate with Tatiana Navka. She was much older. He kept saying that he didn't want to skate with older women. He didn't want to think that he was better, etc. But it somewhat happened that their chemistry really bonded. He grew up and the maturity really happened where he was like, okay, fine, I'll give it a go. Everything was beautiful. They really were together, very much bonded. But the coach then said that Roman Kostomarov, you need to skate with a different partner. Anna Simonovic, she had a fallout with her skater. The male skater left her and she was seeking a new partner. The coach recommended for Roman to leave Tatiana and to go to Anna because he had better chances of winning first. With Tatiana, they might get second and third. Roman Kostomarov listened and said, okay, I'll give it a go with Anna. They went, they skated. It was good at first. They were winning first place. But then it so happened that Anna always focused on her facial expressions and her technique got worse. And the man knew that her technique was getting worse and they would end up getting second or third, but not first place. And so he made the decision to quietly leave Anna and go back to Tatiana. Gave a few phone calls. Tatiana would speak to him. They had conversations and within 2 weeks, he was back skating with Tatiana. Anna didn't even know that Roman Kostomarov was again skating with Tatiana. She found out through her friend and was honestly demoralized and was shocked, surprised, and was so burnt out from the sport because she gave absolutely her all in her artistry. She had a phone call from England saying that they can represent her and they have a male partner waiting for her in England that she can try out. But ultimately she rejected the opportunity because she was so tired of constantly having this fallout, constantly having this athletic drive, and she was just done. She was burnt out. And a year later, she had a really successful singing career that led her to becoming a famous singer, acting opportunities, and so much more, that she just left the world of sport because she was absolutely done with it. Back to Tatiana Nafka and Roman Kostamarov, they really bonded and they had a really good opportunity, good chemistry, and that led them to having a really good Olympic performance. Now in 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics, where Iliana and Anton were competing as a pair, winning those Olympics, there was a scandal and a controversy because for the first time in pairs there were 2 gold medalists. 2 pairs that were offered, the Canadians and the Russians. Now this is because allegedly that the Russians skated beautifully. They had a really good performance, there was no doubt. But at the same time, Canadians were skating very much well as well. There was a judging controversy called the Skate Gate, where the French judge, Marie-Reine Legoulane, admitted being pressured to vote for the Russians, and this led to the 2nd gold medal for the Canadians because the Canadians did have a lot of support from the audience. Everyone wanted the Canadians to win, and the Canadians were pressured to kind of just protest from the judging perspective because they said that they also delivered a really good performance. When the French judge admitted that she was actually pressured to vote for the Russians, she got suspended by the ISU, and then everything kind of led into the Canadian favour, where they did a 2nd ceremony and offered another set of gold medals, and it was very unique at the time. And the whole scandal kind of led to a closed system of judging. Usually at that time, all the audience can say or see on the scoreboard who got which element, and now it's very much synchronized, very much in secret which judging scored which, and it's very much more complicated due to this whole scandal. So there you go for the pairs and the ice dancing, the whole controversy that led. It's so much more brutal and difficult, and the behind the scenes, we see how much sacrifices and the much body strain that is led to a whole elite sport. We see all of this in the inside, and I don't know if any other countries are experiencing what the Russians are really experiencing, but we see how much sacrifice they're putting in to be the absolute best in the field. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video breakdown. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe, comment down below, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah.